Alex Perez says that he wants to be the guy that solves the puzzle of unbeaten Tatsuro Taira. Is that going to happen?
So many fights on this card that could turn out to be good, but have absolutely no fucking heat on them and zero excitement. That's my biggest... Welcome. Guess what, folks? We're getting into it. I'm about to start bitching at the top of the card.
We don't like it.
I'm going to start bitching right off the bat. Welcome to the UCF Predictions Podcast, coming at you live Thursday night ahead of Fight Night Perez versus Taira. We're going to get into it, but before that, I got to bitch, okay? And I'm going to bitch for a little bit here.
Oh, God.
Going down this card, there is almost no title implications. There are very few interesting matchups between guys with established styles. And there is a glut of 125-pounders they're going to force you to watch. And they know you haven't been paying attention to the men's flyweight division, even though it's like slowly becoming one of the best divisions in the UFC. We have a main card that is... What is it? 1, 2, and then
there's
the
2 fighters.
Card, prelims, we got 3, we got 4, we got a women's flyweight. We got 5 flyweight fights over this entire card, and we got lots of the other little divisions as well. You got bantamweight, you got featherweight. We don't have a single middleweight fight on this card. The heaviest it's going to get.
It's a fight for little guys.
It is, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the problem is that none of these matchups are fucking exciting. So let's go to the top and let's get into this. Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. This matchup is the main event, and obviously I'm gonna argue it's the most exciting of the card, at least on paper. Fight night always surprises. Alex Perez is coming off of that awesome KO of Nicolau. He was late replacement, I believe, for a main event, and he starched him. He's going up against Tatsuro Taira, who is undefeated. He is a submission grappler, and he is significantly longer than Perez. A couple things to note as well. Perez is coming off of this storming win, an awesome KO victory. He was on a 3-fight losing streak before that. He's had lots of time to prepare. I'm pretty sure he's been in training camp since that Nicolau fight. Taira seems like he's going to cause problems for Perez because Perez is a scrappy fighter who does his best work when he's in a real fist fight. When guys are trading punches in the pocket, he's able to land the better shot. He doesn't always have the cleanest boxing. He doesn't always have the cleanest technique, and his chin is up in the air sometimes. But he has some power on those punches. Something to note, as I'm always pointing out, even though these guys are only 1 inch difference in height, Taira has almost 5 inches in reach advantage. Now, as the grappler primarily in this matchup, I think Taira uses that reach advantage, uses that length to pester Perez. And then, if he ends up with any trouble on the feet, or even if he doesn't, if he's having success on the feet and Perez is covering up, boom, takedown. Now, the one interesting piece of this puzzle, talking about puzzles earlier, Taira actually has worse takedown defense than Perez. And I'm reading around online, and people are saying that he's so good on his back when he gets there. And that's more true of 125-pound fighters because the weight of the guy on top of you is less important because he's also a little dude. You can, these guys are professional athletes. They can bench 125 pounds. They can throw each other around much more in these grappling exchanges. So even though this one's probably going to hit the mat early and often, I'm still looking forward to it. I'm guessing 5-round unanimous decision for Tatsuro Taira. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a sub. I would be surprised if Alex Perez actually pulls off the knockout, but I am gonna pick Tatsuro Taira.
Yeah, kind of a funny fight because you could just put the keys to the octagon up on the top shelf and these guys would be done for because they're 5'6" and 5'7". Yeah. I think I generally agree. This is going to be Taira. I think is probably just going to wrestle the shit out of Perez. I feel like he's on this much of a win streak. Perez has a lot of experience, but Taira is kind of this up and coming guy. Looking very good with the grappling. which is nothing to sneeze at. I do have to bring up, however, that Alex Perez has the kanji for, what is it? It's Mount Oyama on his arm. I wonder if Taira knows that.
Hold up. We're gonna. Oh,
I looked it up. It's Mount Oyama, which is literally means big mountain, which I'm guessing is why it's tattooed on him. But
right next to that lion. Right next to that lion.
Yeah, it's right on the lion. He's like, yeah, I got Mount Oyama, which is like a real place. You can go to it. Maybe he's been there. I don't know. That's weird. And I just thought I would point that out because Taira could probably read it.
And you know what? I hope he's not reading on Fight Night because I predicted him to win. So, moving on from the main event, things become a little bit less interesting, but not by much, because if this delivers as it's billed to, as it ought to, this should be a slugfest with a KO. Why do I say that? These are a couple of short kings in their own right. These guys are both 5'7".
Why are they so short? Wait a minute. That's not true.
According to my UFC webpage, I'm seeing 5'7"
Who are you looking at right
fighters. I'm looking at Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles Johns.
Well, you know, like Kamba and Almeida. Is that on your fucking webpage?
I have them coming after.
That is so fucking weird because I loaded this shortly before we started talking.
Yeah.
And I just reloaded the page and mine now looks like yours. I wish I'd been recording the page. I'm not crazy.
You're not crazy. They are shuffling around the order of fights and stuff.
They did it live, folks, on the pod.
They just fuck around, dude. This website works a good half of the time.
This shit is broken as fuck. But, you know, 5'7". Okay, they're both 5'7". I agree.
All right, agreed. Even their reach is pretty much identical. Their leg reach is identical. These guys are fighting at 135 pounds. So even though they're the same frame as the guys we just looked at, they got more muscle on them. Andrade is just a power puncher. He's vicious. He's very hittable, though, which is why I say a brawl, because his opponent, Miles Johns, also pretty hittable. These guys are not crazy technicians. They are freight trains, and they're aimed at one another. I'm looking forward to it. I do have to make a pick, as this is a predictions video. I've seen Andrade in more fights. I've seen him fight better competition. So I'm going to pick my man, Douglas Silva de Andrade.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Miles Johns because I think he's just looking a little better. He looks very strong. He seems pretty confident. He's got a few wins he's coming off of as well. I don't know if Duran does. Yeah, well, he's got one win he's coming off of. Johns is kind of like a little bit of a streak going, though. He's on a 3-win streak. I think there's going to be some motivation to keep that going. He also looks like a weird version of Shel Silverstein for some reason.
I'll look up who that is later.
Yeah, dude, put his picture. I think that's who it is. Yeah, no, Shel Silverstein, sorry. But okay. Like poet, dude.
We'll make sure to put it up so people know.
Yeah, put a picture of them up. Compare. They look very similar. I'm going to go with Johns. So I could be wrong about something on this card.
Because I was bitching earlier, let me just remind you all. This is the co-main event of the evening. Is a bantamweight fight with 0 title implications with 2 guys who I do not believe are ranked.
No, they're not. It's fight night, baby.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be a stinker.
The only stakes that matter are the betting odds. You know, you bet a bunch of money and you lose the house. That's what it's all about.
You know, I disagree, but that's all right. Going down the card, we have Lucas Almeida versus Timmy Kwamba. Almeida's lost his last 3. So that 14-3, that 3 is what he's done for you lately.
He lost his last 2.
His last 2? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're a fake fan.
And Kwamba lost his last 1?
He's only had 1 fight in the UFC, I think. I think this is his second one. So,
was he Dana White's contender before that?
Whenever I see stuff like this, I'm assuming the answer to that question is yes.
Yeah, I'm because I was like,
we could be wrong.
Everybody's records earlier, and as you can tell, I almost remember it.
Come very close.
But seriously, Lucas Almeida is coming off of worse losses. Kwamba looks to be the younger guy that they want to push. I'm going to be picking him just because it seems like the UFC is.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where they're clearly feeding. This guy lost. He lost by split decision in his first match in the UFC, and they're kind of okay, here's a relatively easy one. If you lose this, then you suck. We'll see you on the early prelims a few months from now. So I'm probably gonna go with Kwamba.
All right. Solid pick so far.
All right there, buddy.
Next up, we got Brady Highstand versus Garrett Armsfield. Armfield is pretty good. In his last fight, and look this up and correct me if I'm wrong, but he actually beat... let me scroll. Yeah, no, it was him. It was he beat Brad Katona in his last fight.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the guy that we just watched put on a show last weekend. So that's a really good win to have on your record. But I watched Brady Highstand on, I think it was the season with Volkan Ortega of The Ultimate Fighter. Highstand made it to like the finale of that. He's continued to pick up UFC wins after making it out of the show and staying in the UFC. He's coming off of a KO victory. Armfield is coming off of a 3-round unanimous decision over Katona. I'm thinking Highstand is the younger guy. He's surging. He's starting to pick up steam. I'm going to be picking Brady Highstand in this one.
I don't know. This one, I'm not super certain about. I think I could go for Armfield, honestly. I feel like he's just a little bit better of a striker. I know that Highstand has some it's like a little bit of wrestling going on that might edge him out. I don't know. Maybe I'll just be controversial. We'll just be split down this whole card, and I'll pick Armfield because I don't know. I think he's got it in him. I believe.
Yeah, I mean, if he has it in him to beat Brad Katona, he has it in him to beat
right.
Highstand,
like it's not.
But
and just to be clear, Highstand did lose to Turkios. Remember him? That guy lost to the Zoomer.
No, I do. Because Turcios won that season of The Ultimate Fighter, and he's never looked as good since.
Well,
that was the finale that he made it to. So then he lost to him, and Turcios is.
Yeah, it was a split decision. Okay.
Yeah, Turcios did win that. I saw that fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. So we're splitting our picks already.
Yeah. So
I bet we're gonna pick the same guy on this one.
Let's go, baby! You don't know who it is.
Asu Almabayev versus Jose Johnson.
Love my boy Almabayev.
I was the first time that I ever saw Almabayev fight.
You started crying, tears of joy.
I mean, a little bit, because I don't know if it was his UFC debut or a couple fights in, but he fought Ode Osborne, and I was pretty sure Osborne would smoke him, and he submitted him. And at that point, I was like, oh shit, this guy's good. This guy's actually good. And we're not alone in that assumption or statement. Whereas the UFC webpage does not currently have odds on this fight, I think Almabayev is like minus 650 right now.
Oh,
something completely fucking ridiculous.
That's crazy.
He's fighting a legit fighter in Jose Johnson. I don't know almost anything about Johnson. I'll be real with you. He has picked up a couple wins in this UFC flyweight division. He's 6 foot tall at 125 pounds. I can't imagine. Like, that's so...
I can.
That's so incredibly fucking skinny, dude.
I can imagine anything.
Yeah. The reach advantage on this one, too, is a little...
Notable.
Like 7.5 inches of reach. So, here's my one fear. Because I am going to pick Asu to win. But my one fear is the perfect shot. Like, he dives for a takedown.
Yeah.
And his head is already at, like, knee level.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, too. That's easily, like, the game plan. If you're Johnson right now, that you don't even need to tune into the pod, because that's exactly what you're gonna try to do.
Yep. No, obviously, a guy being, like, this tall and lanky, it really depends how strong he is. Because if he is stronger than the more compact fighter, those longer limbs are going to give him every advantage in the grappling. You can reach around and grab your opponent's ankle to like pull them off balance. You can start to do all sorts of goofy shit that most guys can't do when they're grappling. And especially if the other guy is also shorter than you are by like more than half a foot, 8 inches. Like, holy shit. So we're picking the short king. And if he pulls this off, baby, I'm on the hype train. Let's go for that fucking Asu title shot. Because
every time, baby. Central Asia. Also weird, because I'm doing weird fun facts about fighters today. His nickname is Zulfikar, which I believe is in reference to the sword of Ali ibn Abi Talib, who is the guy who split Islam between Sunni and Shia for the Shia side.
That's pretty intense, actually.
Mm-hmm. You can cut that part out.
No,
I don't want to get political.
Now, I left in the bit about like Brazilian socioeconomics, so.
Oh my God!
All those weeks ago.
You remember that?
I do. Moving down to the start of our main card, we have Josh Kinlan versus Adam Fugit. Kinlan is such an interesting fighter to me because the very first fight in the UFC that I saw him in was his knockout victory. And he pretty much immediately smoked his opponent, who I only really remember is one of these guys with just the very silly decision-making skills to give himself the fight name like the Vanilla Gorilla or something. So the Vanilla Gorilla,
the clan member,
the Vanilla Gorilla immediately starched by Josh Kinlan, and then Kinlan's like lost, I believe, his next two fights in the UFC. Adam Fugit also coming off at least one loss. He's had some highs and some lows here in the UFC. Neither one of these guys has distinguished themselves in the welterweight division, which is a very deep division. Neither of these guys are ranked. Really, this is, to some extent, this card is an extension of last week's 50% off sale. They still got to go. They're still cutting half the card, okay?
Yeah, some of these guys they're not coming back after this.
Nope.
So if you're a big fan of Quinlan, this might be your last chance to see him.
I'm going to actually say this is not our last chance to see Josh. I'm going to pick him because I did see his win, that KO win. He very clearly has a mean straight punch. And if you can line that up on Adam, I think that'll be it. I am actually going to call Josh Kinlan by knockout. This is his last chance in the UFC. He's had 3 or 4 fights. He's lost 2 of them. He knows this is his last chance. I'm picking him. He's going to knock him out.
Yeah, I honestly agree. I think Quinlan will win, but I think it's going to be a lame-ass goes to decision, and he wins by split decision.
All right, fair enough. Cracking open our prelims. We're really going to start finding people that you've never heard of.
No one's ever heard of.
No one's ever heard of.
Wait a minute. This guy's got a little number by his name.
Could he?
What's going on there?
Well, now this could have something to do with the fact that nobody watches flyweight.
We watch it.
We watch it.
For better or for worse.
Now, when you get to guys at like this level in flyweight, where I can look at these guys' record, I can watch the tape back, but if they're fighting people I don't know, if they're getting wins over cans, it doesn't teach you anything. You can't really start to learn about a fighter until they're tested, until they show you interesting things when they run into difficulty. This is kind of going to be the tale of a lot of these prelims. These are a lot of unknown fighters. These are guys who have been just like hanging around the bottom of their UFC division, or they're in a division like flyweight where the UFC at one point was getting ready to cut the whole division. So there just haven't been that many guys in the division. So you can end up, the last title fight we had in this division with Urseg was coming off of like, what was it? 2 or 3 UFC fights, and he was getting a title shot. So just because one of these guys has a number beside their name doesn't impress me much. Flyweight has been a tough division for a while. Now, when we did the podcast for that fight card, the flyweight belt, I said that this division is getting better and better, and this is one of those fights that's going to make it better because we're going to start to see some of these guys who have stuck around, who have been able to make it to that top 15, top 10. They're going to start to impress you, and they're going to start to become names. This is one where I don't know. I'm going to pick Tagir Ulanbekov because I'm picking with the statistical likelihood of a height and reach advantage being useful.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. I think the issue is that Van seems to be a striker, and then Ulanbekov has been doing a lot of submissions in his recent fights. So you got that classic sort of, is the striker just going to get submitted because he hasn't practiced any grappling in the past 6 years of his life?
Is the striker also shorter than the grappler?
Yeah, striker's also shorter.
Doesn't get to dictate when he does or doesn't get taken down. It's just tough.
It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, Van has good takedown defense, right? 78%. It's pretty good, but this is going to be his first real test to see if that 78% was against guys who just weren't very good at taking you down or not. Because Ulanbekov is a pretty good grappler. I don't know. I think it could honestly go either way. It's really going to depend on what Van brings to the table, but I feel like the safer bet is Ulanbekov, and I'm going to go with that.
All right, in agreement there. Moving down the card, we got Jimmy Flick versus Nate Maness. We got another flyweight belt. I have seen Nate fight before. I think I've seen Jimmy Flick fight before.
Yeah, back alley, behind a bar.
They kind of look like it, don't they?
A little bit.
Especially Jimmy Flick. For some reason, he's giving off the vibes. Oh my God. I will... This is actually the perfect time to use that thing I mentioned for like cutting shit from the podcast. Helps freezing to death, getting hit in the back by an arrow.
Yeah.
It's tough life out there, and it's tough having
tougher
to fight
on the
Nate
inside,
Maness. I don't have a great read on this one. I'm going to be picking Nate Maness because I've seen him look better than Jimmy Flick when fighting. I'm not going to look into it any deeper than that because, again, these are guys who kind of need to prove themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you got height advantage. You got reach advantage. Nate Maness, he seems like pretty good. Seems all right. Actually, not really. It kind of doesn't seem that good at all.
No, you just opened his record, eh?
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, he seems okay. And I scrolled down. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not that great. Both of them are kind of like, they're in like their early 30s. Neither of them seem to have done that good in their career. This is serious bargain bin shit. I don't even know. I'm going to go with Nate Maness on a coin flip.
By the way, to the fighters out there, if one ever listens to this podcast,
you're so good.
Like
we suck.
We understand it's tough being a fighter.
It ain't easy.
Judging good fighters and bad fighters, sometimes you end up being bargain bin.
Yeah, there's nothing, like it's not like an insult. I mean, it is kind of, but it's not like
literally. It's more of a judgment statement.
Yeah, we're just sitting there like, sorry, man. Like at this point, you're in your early 30s. You got this many fights on your belt in the UFC. You haven't distinguished yourself. I'm sorry. You're on the bargain bin fight night. We're just making calls, okay? We're just saying things. We suck. We couldn't beat you in a fight. I mean, maybe if you gave me a knife. Even
ironically, though, if we get our picks right, we didn't just pick who would win the fight. We picked who would get cut.
God, UFC should hire us.
Yeah, hopefully. Moving down the card, we got Carly Giudice.
Oh, thank God.
Gabriela Fernandez.
It's like a breath of fresh air, dude. Fuck, dude. It's like cool water on a hot day.
No, it isn't women's 115, right, which is the gold standard of WMMA, but it's still a pretty good card, or a pretty good fight, I should say. This is Carly Giudice's UFC debut. If I'm seeing this right, she is 0-1. This has to be a late replacement fight. There's no fucking way in... Yeah, are you not seeing 0-1-1? Or, sorry, 0-1-0?
That is... Okay, if you click on her thing, though, it's like 3 wins by knockout, 3 first-round finishes. She's 3-1-0.
Oh, okay.
So the website sucks.
Yeah.
Stop using it forever. That'd be so fucking funny. That would be so funny, dude.
Your 5th fucking fight is a UFC debut.
You lost one pro fight, and Dana White rolls up to your fucking house. Sign this contract now. I need you to die. I need you to die to a fucking Brazilian woman.
That is what I'm going to pick to happen. UFC debuts are fucking tough. It's like under the best of circumstances, when you're a prospect they really wanted to pick up, a UFC debut is tough. It doesn't always work out. When you're coming in off of not a lot of experience, maybe she has a huge amateur record that I'm ignoring right now, but not a lot of experience. UFC debut, starting out the undercard on the 50% off sale. I don't think they're trying to get rid of Gabriela Fernandez. They might be trying to get her a win.
Yeah, because she has lost the last 2. This is kind of the feed. And then if Fernandez loses, then, get her the fuck out of here. But yeah, I think Fernandez is probably going to win this one. But this is going to be WMMA goes to unanimous decision type shit, I think. Would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, actually. Well, and lest we forget, last weekend, all these WMMA prelims, kind of good.
Yeah.
Before that, we have a featherweight bout between Jekka Saragi and Weston Wilson. Weston Wilson looking like someone's math teacher. Versus an Indonesian killer. My goodness.
Why does he kill Indonesians?
Yep.
That's horrible.
This is a featherweight bout. This is getting pretty heavy. These are some pretty big dudes, 6'1". Holy smokes, eh? Once again.
You know it's good when he brings out the holy smokes.
Yeah, no, this fight is about as interesting to me as anything the PFL puts on between two guys I don't know.
And they're gonna hit each other.
They are. Wilson has just like a lot more losses on his record, but he also has more experience. He has this height and reach advantage. Can you check the stats quickly for me? Or you know what? Let's just do it. Oh, no, the website's... There we go. So we got ourselves 11 wins by submission, 14 first-round finishes, 5 knockouts. Dude's got a long career. He's coming off of a loss to a Brazilian. Before that, a loss to Brito.
Before that, a loss to his ex-wife. She took the kids.
Oof. I hope that's not true.
Could be. I don't know. I just talk shit. I don't really say anything intelligent.
Jeka Sergi, on the other hand, what are his last fights? We got a win by KO. You know what?
You can't do that shit.
Actually.
In featherweight, you can't do that. Get got the fuck out of here.
It's very curious because...
You win by unanimous decision or submission.
Will Jeka be able to find Wilson's chin? My guess is yes. So I'm going to pick Jeka Sergi.
Okay, there you go. It's that easy, dude. Yeah, I'll pick Jeka Sergi. I don't know. I think he's just looking better. He's coming off that win. I think he's probably, decent. I kind of get the feeling that Weston Wilson is not so great. And that's my conclusion.
And it's a pretty good conclusion.
Yeah, because we agree.
We have...
All right, what's the fucking tattoo on his tit?
Melchizel Costa versus Sheyilan Nurdanbeke. Nurdanbeke? That sounds close to right.
Who is this fucking man?
With 50 pro fights?
Well, I meant yes. But also, what the fuck? What is happening in this fight? Why does this guy... He has, what's that thing called? When you got, brown,
the skin
brown
disease?
splotches? Yeah. He's got the hair, which seems to be a reference to that. That's all fine. What is on his titty? Which man is that? Is that a guy I should know, or is that just his dad?
Based purely on facial features between tattoo and face, I'm gonna guess dad. I've actually seen Costa fight before. He's not bad.
Is he good?
Yeah, he's pretty good. He is coming off of a loss, and
that doesn't matter.
Do you remember Thiago Moises? Do you remember Thiago Moises, who we said looks great in losses?
Yeah.
One of his last wins was against Costa.
Oh, shit.
But Costa is, in fact, coming off of... Well, yeah, he's coming off of a loss against Garcia. He got KO'd.
Doesn't matter. Why does it matter?
Why
you can win after a loss.
You can.
You're scared?
You can, absolutely. His opponent is old. These guys are both pretty long of tooth in fighting. In mixed martial arts, man, honestly, this number here is insane. 39-11.
Right, isn't that crazy?
The mileage on this dude.
What do they do in China, man?
I would guess...
What if he's just Omega champion of China?
I would guess that he's not with 11 losses.
Yeah, that's fair, actually.
No, the odds that we're seeing here are favoring Costa. I've seen him look good before. He has a height and reach advantage. But I'm going to be picking our veteran. I'm going to be picking our old warrior. I'm going with Sheyilan on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sheyilan. Apparently, he saw Conor McGregor on television, and that's what inspired him to start MMA. He's also, apparently, Kazakh or something. He's from, a Kazakh autonomous prefecture in China. So I got to go with him. He's kind of Central Asian.
Yeah. I mean, his name does sound vaguely...
it sounds more like that than it does Chinese, so... Very cool.
And moving down to our very first fight, our early fight past prelim.
Why is she gray? Did she die?
Because they took her picture before they invented color.
Okay.
We have Josephine Knutson versus...
Knutson. Get it the fuck out of here, dude. Are you kidding me?
versus Julia Pilastri. Now, interesting. I'm actually pretty sure this is gonna be. Let's see, real quick view. What do we got for a last fight? That's right. This is a UFC debut. That's why the Dragon is in black and white. Her opponent, undefeated Josephine Knutson. Lamau. Because
Knutson.
Oh yeah, she beat the shit out of Man. That was nice.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking, haven't I seen this woman like beat up Man before Souza beat up Man a few weeks ago?
And yes, we did. This is actually like, I'm gonna say something a little controversial. I hope that's okay.
Okay, don't say a slur again, man.
This fight should probably be on the main card.
Yeah?
This fight is better than Timmy Kwamba versus Lucas Almeida.
You know, yeah, you might be up. Maybe just a swap. You could even just bump it up there, you know?
Yeah, just swap it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's like, yeah, it could be it.
Like, from the guys who actually go down to the early prelims and look at shit, if we're like, oh, actually, maybe this is better on the main card. Maybe this will deliver better than guys coming off of 2 losses.
Call us. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. Knutson actually did look pretty damn good against Man. Like, she kind of just beat the shit out of her, which isn't that hard to do against Man, but...
That's right.
I don't know.
You called Man a tank, man.
Yeah. That's the thing. Man's the one that you just stands there and gets fucking punched. She can, she aggroes mobs and gets punched by them, but she's not good in the UFC because that's not helpful in the UFC. But yeah, if you look at, like, her fight against Man, I don't know, dude. She's fucking just whipping with punches. 81 significant strikes to 2. Again, that's not a big deal because Man throwing 2 significant strikes is, like, a huge deal for her. But Knutson throwing 81, I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know how Pilastri's like because it's her debut, but I mean, it could be a good fight. Could be a little bit of punching going on. Could be a little bit of kicking.
Yeah. So this is again why I say these are some tough fights to pick. If you're digging around for like regional scene tape on fighters, can be
just Google them.
Can be tough.
Go on their Wikipedia page.
This is like this. There's only 2 women's fights on this entire card, and they're both versus a UFC debutant.
Thank you for getting that gender right.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to pick our Swedish killer. I'm going to go with Josephine Knutson on this one. Not just because it's fun to make fun of her last name, but also because she did look good in that fight against Man. We just don't know enough about Julia Pilastri. Like I've been saying all the way through this fight card, these are a lot of people who are developing a skill set, have had trouble developing a skill set, haven't distinguished themselves. I'm going to be paying attention all through this fight card so I can decide who out of this bargain bin is good and who's not. Call back to circa like 2007, digging through a Walmart bargain bin for Medios on the DS.
It's going to be Knutson. She's got like 10 professional wins. I think she has the experience. And I think she's actually probably pretty good. Like, I think she actually might be some sort of a contender. But this is kind of going to be, I think, what decides whether or not that's the case.
But yeah, this has been top to bottom UFC Fight Night Perez versus Taira.
It's so easy, man. They're just going to hit each other. And we love women.
Boy, do we ever love women. And thank you for joining the UFCF podcast. We hope to see more women on the next one.
We love them.